Right, the scabby feet are out tonight, so if you've got trainers on, and no, use with a foot fetish tonight, I am most definitely not taking my socks off, okay? I don't even want to see my own scabby feet, so you're definitely not going to see them. We're going to be starting with the feet, and before we start, because we've got plenty of new folk or old new folk coming on, you're going to need your foam roller. You happy with that? Foam roller? If you don't have that, you might as well hang up now. What I would recommend you have is this, a lacrosse ball, a massage ball, a golf ball, basically a hard ball, or in Karen McCreath's case, 2 big black balls, okay? Show them up for everybody, Karen, just in case anybody thinks I've got a filthy mind. I certainly don't. So this is what we're after. If you don't have it, we're not doing too many movements tonight where you're going to need this, so you could, to some degree, supplement it with a foam roller. So please don't hang up if you don't have one, but it's better that you do. Happy? All the admin points, health and safety out the way. Let's get the show on the road. Right, this is where I cut in the video. It's Mobility 61, everybody, and it is a special. It's a special indeed tonight. We're doing a runner special. So all you runners out there, this one is for you. It's simple, okay? For those of you who haven't done mobility before or for a long time, it's long-winded in the sense that we're going to be doing quite a lot of areas tonight. That doesn't mean to say that, oh, you know what, I need to do some mobility work, I need to set aside 60 minutes to do it. No. As you're going to hear me talk through all of this, 2 minutes on each side of your problem areas is all it takes to get an improvement each day. So don't think mobility, think, oh, I need to dedicate 60 minutes. You don't. 2 minutes each side, that's me referring to each leg or each arm, okay, is all it's going to take to throw into your day to see a difference. Happy with that? Yes, we are. If you don't have enough time, then don't moan to me about that because you won't like what I've got to say on the matter. Ball on the floor, I don't know why it got to my knees, but the first thing we're going to do is get that ball on the floor and we're going to stand on that ball. Okay, now, while you're doing that, I'll talk you through exactly what we're doing. So what you're not doing is this. People like to get on this ball and just roll it around because it feels kind of nice, okay? If that's what you're into, get someone else to do that for you. What we're going to be working for, scabby feet alert, is if you look under, well, don't look under, this fascia here at the bottom of the foot, okay? It starts at the heel, okay? You'll feel it at the bone and it ends at the ball of your foot, and you'll feel that area as soon as you stand on it, okay? What we're trying to do is stand on the ball, and rather than just roll around, I want you to work side to side, okay? And this is me speeding it up pretty quickly until you've gone side to side that full length. What we're looking for there, everybody, is pain. So with this, we're looking for pain. Pain is not our friend, but as soon as you find a spot that's painful when you're going side to side, I want you to hold that spot that's painful and I want you to put as much weight as you possibly can onto that spot of pain. So everybody's different, okay? So I've showed you where to start. I'm pushing down onto the ball and I'm trying to imagine that this ball, my foot is just enveloping. That's the word I've been looking for weeks that I've always been struggling with, enveloping. If that's a word, if it's not, then go with it. I want you to feel that your foot is collapsing around that ball. Now, what you're going to feel is all the tendons and ligaments go click, 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 click. Think of it as a guitar. So as you're going side to side, you're running across the guitar strings, okay? Rather than just rolling forward and backwards on it, have a process of, I'm looking for pain. And for a lot of us, we're going to find a lot of pain and discomfort within this. For this to work, you have to be putting a hell of a lot of weight down onto this ball, okay? So you're riding the full width of your foot. So now we're away. So we're starting on the foot. This is one I recommend. So see if you're about to go a run. This is what I'll always do personally. I always like to use myself as an example. So I'll spend a good 2 minutes each foot before I put my running trainers on, okay? To help soften up all that fascia. Amount of people that get plantar fasciitis, okay, that tissue gets all tied up horribly tight, okay? This isn't a case of this is going to cure you, so if you do suffer from plantar fasciitis, it's not a case of this is what's going to fix it, okay? And what we mean by plantar fasciitis is just pain on the underside of the foot, okay, because it's quite a vague term. The cause of it, there's many causes, okay? I'm not a medical expert, I'm not going to start drumming out all the potential causes. However, this is something that it's always a case of prevention's better than cure, okay? So while I'm talking away, because that's what I like to do, hopefully fill your head with some form of information that's useful, useless as well, but plenty of useful in there as well. I want you to be proactive with this, okay? Do not just aimlessly roll about. You're looking for an area of pain, the area of high pain is the area that you want to be putting all your focus on here. So I am pushing down all my might onto this as hard as I can. And it's not comfortable, I can tell you that. It's freezing in here and the pain sweats are already about starting. So I'm doing it quite quickly here, okay? 2 minutes isn't that long, okay? And I know we're probably going to be slightly longer than 2 minutes, but it's probably not enough time for you, especially beginners that are new to all this stuff, to actually get quality time on the whole underside of your foot. So what you'll find is you've probably got just enough time to get onto 2 painful areas and make the most of it. So with this, it's pretty simple. I'm just going side to side, and that's me. That's me, because it's all about me. Now that I've reached the ball of my foot, I'm going to change feet. Okay, now you can do this one sat down to some degree. Of course, you're not going to be able to bear as much load on it. So be proactive. Okay, there's a lot of mobility drills that we can do while you're sat in your hookie. So if you spend a lot of time, so again, I'm on, you'll know how to do this one, everybody, okay? I showed you where to go, but if you're on the heel, okay, you're on that bone, you ain't gonna feel anything. As soon as you slip onto that soft tissue, or the tissue that should be soft, the problem being a lot of us, it's all jammed up tight, you're gonna start to feel a good bit of pain, unless you're really supple, but for most people, you're probably not, let's be honest. So side to side, how dare you make a presumption about me? So side to side, okay, and I'm just looking for the areas of high pain. So that's not nice, but oh, there we go. So I've found a spot that's really sore. So what do? I push down on it as hard as I can, okay, and I'm just going to gently rock the foot side to side, up and down. But when I'm holding that painful spot, okay, I'm not easing off and on of it, I'm staying on it. So we'll go into this more when we move on to the next one. But with the foam rolling, which is effectively, this is what we're doing, our myofascial release work. I know, but what we're trying to do here, there should be no pain, okay? So you're going to find an area of high pain, and rather than trying 2 minutes to get the full foot done, as in quickly skimming over it, and this applies to any part that we're about to foam roll tonight, as soon as you find an area of high pain, you stay on that area until you feel an improvement, okay? And what do we refer to as an improvement? It's not necessarily the pain disappears, because realistically, if it's that bad, which this is, okay, 2 minutes is not going to cure it. It's going to make it better. An improvement is I can get much more weight on this than when I started, okay? And that is an improvement. If you're not feeling an improvement, it's like anything. It's probably because you're not putting the work in. You're probably just half-arsed, putting a little bit of weight on the ball, rocking back and forwards because it feels quite nice. This does not feel nice. This feels disgusting is the best way to describe it. So if you're feeling that, you're with me, then you're probably putting in the required work, okay? So I'm going to just quickly do the rest of my foot while I'm here, but I don't have the time to do it in depth. So I'm just going to give it a quick overview. Okay, it's as simple as that. So while you're doing that, you can bookmark it, is what I like to say with room mobility work, because we're doing a lot of muscle groups tonight, okay? We could easily spend, and we have done before, a dedicated session just on the feet, okay? There's a lot we can do with the feet. We could probably spend a good 15 minutes just doing that, okay? And that's how much time it would probably take per foot to actually get the full length of the foot done to a high standard. Okay, right, next up, I want you to get yourself on the floor, and you're still going to be using the ball here. This is where the foam roller probably isn't going to work. So on that note, that's a good one to do before and after your run. I've never really got a chance to explain what we're doing there, but if that tissue's all jammed up tight, your foot is not going to move very freely. Now the problem is you're putting your foot into a trainer that's probably already quite compressing around the foot. As you start to run, your feet are going to start swelling up, okay? So you want to be as barefoot as often as you can. Get out your trainers and let your feet, that doesn't mean flip-flops, they're the worst possible thing for your feet and for your shins. Stay away from them as long as you can. But we're trying to just let our feet be free. So again, if you're doing a lot of desk work and you're sat about and you can get away with it, just take your shoes off, sit with this thing while you're sat doing your thing, whatever you're doing. Okay, happy days, that's enough on that. So that's what can lead to a lot of pain up into the ankles and tightness in the ankles as well, believe it or not. So that should be part of your daily routine. Right, next up, what we're going to do, I'm going to get my leg out in front. What you do with this leg is entirely up to you. And this is a damn good one for those of you with shin splints, or like I say, we don't want shin splints. It's not a case of you wait until you get them before you start doing this. Prevention is always better than cure. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I will come up closer to the camera. All I want you to do is you've got the length of your shin bone. In fact, you can see clear as day. So you've got the length of your shin bone. Push it, get the thumb in there, okay? Identify your shin bone. Everybody's different. Everybody's got different size lower leg. So you'll be able to feel when you run your thumb along the back end, okay, of your shin bone. That is the area in which we're about to use the ball on. So underneath the kneecap, jam your thumb in there, in behind the shin bone, and what I want you to imagine you're trying to do is get this ball in behind the shin bone and push in to the shin bone. All I want you to do is have a quick overview, starting from just under the knee. I'll try and move that hand away. Can you see what I'm doing there? Yep, everybody see that? Okay. Thumbs up if you can, or a wee bit of this if you can't. If you're using a Nokia 3210 and you can't, and that's your own damn fault, get a bigger screen. We've been through this, okay? So what I'm doing here, I'm putting the ball onto the shin, and then I want you to twist it. What happens when you twist it, okay? You take up the slack in the skin, okay? Doesn't it feel nice, especially if you get hairy legs? Fortunately, I don't, okay? I've got to push down all my weight on there. Do I feel pain? Do I feel pain? No, I don't. Okay, you might. So then I'm going to move down a wee bit further, the width of the ball. Push down again. Do I feel pain? It's no comfortable, but it's actually all right. So I'm going to move down a wee bit further. For most people, if you look now, you'll probably identify somewhere along the middle of your shin a lot of pain. So remember, we don't have time to push onto each area for 2 minutes. I want you to find an area of high pain, and what we're going to do is mash it up with this ball. Okay, now I do this regular, and those who do the mobility classes regular, you probably know exactly where to go. So get on there now, find an area of high pain, not low pain, high pain. Twist the ball to take up the slack of your skin, and then I want you to push it in. It's not nice, okay? Welcome to foam rolling. It's not nice, it's not meant to be nice. So I'm pushing down here, and this is where you're either going to get nothing out of it or you're going to get a lot out of it. You're trying to tolerate as much pain and discomfort as you can. So I'm pushing down. You'll realise that pain feels different in different areas of our body. I would say this kind of pain is probably the kind of pain that starts to make you feel a wee bit kind of okay? It's not nice. It's very blunt, horrible pain. So I'm pushing down. I'm trying to break up that muscle tissue. Okay, now how do I do that? I'm pushing down on the problem area where the pain is. I'm making sure it is in fact the area of highest pain. So go left to right of that and see if it gets worse. If it gets worse, get on the worst part. Now what I want you to do is while you're pinning it down, we do something is what do we call it? Scrubbing. Scrubbing is we refer to in the mobility overhaul classes. So scrubbing means you're holding on that painful area, but you're working around. So you're just gently moving it around in a circle, up and down, left and right, okay? And I'm seeing some good pain faces on there, which tells me that you're inflicting enough pain. But remember, we don't want a pain face. I want you to try and relax into the pain. Now, a lot of people will be wincing here and not putting a lot of effort into this. Please, I can only urge you, unless you're pushing in as hard as you can while you're staying relaxed and smashing into it, okay? And I want you to continue working away. We're only going to go another minute. So I want you to continue working down. If you can't find any areas of higher pain, just keep working on the one, okay? And I'm rocking it back and forward, side to side, up and down, trying to break up that tissue. And we're doing something that's what we call pressure wave, okay? So I'm trying to put more and more pressure on there. Yeah, well, trying to keep my face nice and relaxed, which is not an easy task. So, as I always say, take the pain, focus on your breathing, okay? And just try to stay relaxed and focus. It doesn't work this, okay, if you're all tensed up. If you're pushing down on it, trying to be a hero, okay, going, I can come and stand on it, please, I can take it. And you're sitting there going, oh, that's defeating the purpose here, okay? You've got to be relaxed. So now I want you for the last 10 seconds, everybody, the area that you were working on, I want you to quickly push down hard and work the entire length of that shin bone, because what I never got a chance to finish up with is we do something that we call bookmarking. Okay, so if you know this is a problem area for you, or you've never done that before and you've found a lot of pain, then guess what? That is now your new problem area. It goes with everything. And for people doing this for the first time, every area is probably going to be your new problem area. So what I do here is, I remember the work I got to. So I'm working the entire length. I've spent 2 minutes, yep, maybe a good bit more, it doesn't matter, working on this problem area. So next time when I come back to do a bit of work on it, I know that that's where I got to, so I'm going to continue off and continue down until, you know, I've done the entire length. So remember that. We're going to change legs, everybody. So. Johnny, how far did you go? Say it. How far down do you go? Is that what you asked? Yes. How far down? Geez, oh man, move back to civilization with this dodgy broadband. I can't hear you. You're all choppy. Victoria. Right, okay, so we're working from here. So this is the shin bone. You're happy with that? Right in there. Jam it in. It's horrible. You can even get pain with just shoving your finger in there. So I'm going from here because any higher is the actual knee joint. You'll feel the bone. We don't want a foam roll bone because it's pointless and it's horrible. So I'm working all the way down, 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 down. Basically until you hit the ankle. You'll know not to go any further because you're going to hit bone again. So it's basically all the way down, just into that ankle joint is exactly where we're trying to get to. Happy days. So we're going to change legs, okay? And there we have it. So the idea is you're trying to get your leg supported on the ground, okay? It doesn't quite work if it's suspended. You want to be able to push down as much weight so you can throw that leg behind you, you can have it out in front, whatever's comfortable for you. So I start just below the knee. And you'll know where to go, okay? It's pretty obvious. When you start pushing that ball, there's only kind of one place it can go. Well, there's two places. It's either going to go onto the actual calf muscle itself, which is not what we're after, or it's going to go onto the shin bone and get stopped by the shin bone. So the idea is you're pushing down and forward, okay? Because when you push forward, where's it going? Why? Right into the back of that shin. It's disgusting, I know, but it's for the greater good, everybody. You tell yourself that when you're going through this horrible pain and discomfort. It's doing you the world of good. So now again, I know I'm not going to waste time up here for me personally because I know exactly where the pain and discomfort is, and for me, it's here. Now I've got a lot to talk about tonight because there's plenty of newbies on, okay? So I'm trying my best to make you understand what we're trying to do here. Twist, okay, the ball round while pushing it down. You're going to take up the slack of that skin against the muscle and then push down into it, and it feels disgusting. It's like a blunt type of pain. So I'm pushing down and then I start my scrubbing sequence, okay? But before I start that, I'm just going to move down a wee bit further just to make sure I'm actually on the worst part of the pain, okay? Ground zero, if you like, okay? You're going to find pain and discomfort all along there, but you want to make sure you're in the worst part before you start spending time onto it. So I'm pushing down and I'm just doing that gentle scrubbing while pushing down as hard as I can. So the pressure wave, okay? You pushing down on that increases with time, and more and more and more, and that's what I mean by an improvement. So you should feel that from when you started to when you finish, you can push that down a lot harder before it gets unbearable. That's what I mean by spending 2 minutes on each side, or spending time on that one area until you notice an improvement. So why are we doing this? Okay, this is good if you've got shin splints or to prevent shin splints. The muscle that we're working here is responsible for, along with your calf, etc., creating that nice stable arch in your foot. So a lot of people, flat-footed people especially, a lot of people struggle to create that solid arch. So, you know, who's on tonight? Mostly people, good, people that I see face-to-face that come to boot camps. But also, if you're doing the live classes, you'll hear me say it constantly as well. Driving your toes into the ground. Okay, what happens when we drive the toes into the ground? We create that arch in the foot. It's this muscle here, okay, that's a key player in creating that foot arch. And you'll feel it. So if you jam your fingers in here, when you try to jam your toes into the ground, you'll feel it contract. So if it's all jammed up tight and it's not moving freely, okay, you're going to struggle to create an arch in that foot. That's one of the many reasons to do it. But not being able to create an arch in that foot or create stability in the foot is going to be detrimental. You're not going to be able to take a lot of the shock out of running. Right, we're nearly there, okay? So you'll probably find for yourself, you can continue down a bit further if you want, but if you're not feeling much down here, I mean, nowhere feels nice when you push on it, let's be honest, nowhere feels nice, but you know where the areas of high pain and the areas of low pain are. Focus on that area of high pain. We're going to do another 30 seconds. So, like I keep saying to you, if you ever find yourself in a life or death situation, when you're borderline going down with hypothermia, forget a survival blanket, forget fire, pull out your little lacrosse ball, jam it in somewhere, and within a minute or two you'll be sweating. That's fact, okay, that's fact. So forget your survival tin next time you head off into the wilderness, just take one of these, that's all you need. Right, feedback is always welcome, everybody. You know how I feel. I like to hear people's voices, but if you've got nothing to say, don't bother opening your mouth. If you've got something, productive to provide to tonight's class, please, by all means, let your voice be heard. So before we move on, so mobility, flexibility, 2 words, 2 different meanings. Okay, let's see if I can get it right. So the mobility work we've just done, that is the muscle, that's the joints ability to move through a range of movement. Flexibility is the muscle's ability to move through a range of movement, okay? So we combine mobility and flexibility. They're both as important as each other, and they both work off of each other. You can be mobile and not flexible, and vice versa, but it doesn't really work unless you're both. So now we're going to combine what we've just done with a little bit of a stretch, and for those who run, this is what I would call the runner's stretch. So I want you to get onto your knees, and as always, when we're doing anything on the knees, make sure you get a good comfortable mat or carpet below it, because if your knees are on a hard surface or it's uncomfortable, you're never going to relax into this. So I'll show you quickly so you can get ahead of the game if you know what you're doing. We're doing this one. Okay, so if it's new to you, let me show you. If this is the first time you've ever done this or you've not done it in a while, trust me, it will be horrific. You see the gap at the shins here that I can get my hands underneath? I'm trying to close that gap. I'm trying to get my shins flush on the ground. So look at my feet. I don't have myself up on my toes like this. A lot of people do that. That's not what we're after. The top of your foot is flush on the ground. You're leaving enough gap between your heels for your jacksie to get through your heels. Okay, so if you've got a big bum, you're going to have to put your feet a wee bit wider to let that big bum go through, because the idea is I don't want you sitting on your heels. I want you to go further if you're able to. So I'm on my hands, and just like any other flexibility movement, any other static stretch, we take it to a point in which it starts to feel uncomfortable. Now, I'm at that point. Get your hands out, sit up nice and straight. Now, at this moment in time, I've got a good bit of weight on my arms, okay, because I'm gradually getting more and more body weight pushing down onto these shins, but I don't want to do too much too soon. Everybody's different, okay? You might be able to go, boom, look at me, hardcore. Okay, I can do that, I'm just pretending. Right, so I'm slowly introducing more and more and more. The problem is, like I said, if you just go, boom, and you're going, ah! And it's hellish and you can't take it, you're not going to be relaxed. You're going to be shaking. These muscles are going to be tense. Those feet are going to be driving into the ground to try and stop you going any further. So that's why it's important that we slowly introduce more and more weight while staying in a relaxed state. Now, like I said, this stretch for most people is going to be pretty disgusting. Now, what I want you to do is get yourself so that you're nice and vertical, so that your head is actually over the line of your shins. Okay, well, not your shins, your ankles, because that way, this thing weighs a good ton, as does everything else. So we want it right above where we're trying to stretch out. Okay, so I'm sitting down into it. Now these arms, I'll be honest, are pretty much almost away. I'm not putting much weight on them at all. They're just there to support me. You can, if you like, move your arms away. But if you move your arms away, make sure you're stable and make sure you don't start doing this, because what happens, I've shifted the weight forward off of the target area. So it's better to be right back and have those arms just lightly with weight on them. Now, depending on it's just like fitness, this stuff, for those who are new. You know, those who don't do a lot of mobility and flexibility work, that aren't very mobile and flexible, you might be putting a lot of weight in your arms and you're going, oh my God, this is awful. Okay, for those of you who have been doing it a little while, you're probably finding you're right back there, you're already pretty mobile and flexible. This just feels like you're doing a little bit of maintenance work. So I want you just to push down, push down, push down. So that muscle that runs up the front of your shin, depending on your genetics, that might be big and it's sticking out and you can see it clear as day. For others and most, you can't see it, it's just hidden in there. Everybody concerns themselves with the calf muscles. People forget completely about this muscle that runs up the front of your shin. Tibialis anterior, boom. Or the other way about, it might be anterior. No, it's tibialis anterior. So it's the muscle at the front, runs up the shin, just in case you know you wanted to sleep better tonight. Now you know that. I'm going to ease off. I'm going to ease off slowly. Very slowly, taking my time, because as you come out of this, we've restricted, we've restricted the blood flow into that area. So when you stand up, it's going to feel pretty nasty. So I want you to stand up, breathe, shake out, okay, and feel that. Now that muscle that runs up the front of your shin, again, you might not see it, but if you jam your finger in there, you'll feel it, okay? That gets jammed up tight. Now that's responsible for lifting your toes. Lifting your toes, okay? You're running in that shortened range of movement. People forget about it. That gets jammed up severely tight. Your foot doesn't move too well. You start running like this, boom, 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 because your ankles are jammed up tight. So you can see now, there's a bit more to it than just ankle stretches. You always hear me going on about people's tight ankles. If you can honestly say to yourself, I've been smashing my ankle mobility, okay, I've been stretching, I've been foam rolling, and it's been awful, but I'm just not getting any better. If you can truthfully say you gave it your all, start doing these other ones with it, okay? Now, I've been doing, this is Mobility 61, okay? There's dedicated ones for feet, dedicated class videos for ankles, the actual selves, the calves. So there's plenty. And that's what I mean by, if you identify tonight that, oh, you know what, my shins and my feet were killing me on those foam roller, that's my problem areas. If you load up the classes for those specific areas, you'll find that there's more movements involved and we spend more quality time on those areas. Tonight it's like an overview. We're getting enough time to improve on an area within the muscle group, but certainly not enough time to improve the full muscle group, if you catch my point. So next up, we're going to get our foam roller out. I've got my nice pink one because it contrasts against the black floor, you see. So it was gifted to me. So what I want you to do, if your foam roller, okay, has got all these little valleys and grooves, I want you to try and aim so that the groove, okay, the mountain if you like, is bang on the centre of your leg. Now we're going to do the ankles, everybody. So as a runner, yep, of course the calf muscles are getting used and abused, but for most people, you're always hearing me harping on about ankles being tight, and I mean the ankles, the actual joint, okay? Now, pardon me, so what I want you to do, never done that on live before, just getting too excited. So I want you to push down onto this foam roller, okay? And all I want you to do is start just above the Achilles. What the hell is that, you might be asking? Well, if you start right down at the base of the ankle, you'll feel a right ropey bit of tendon that doesn't feel too good, okay? We don't want to be foam rolling that thing. I want you to come up a wee bit higher, a couple inches above the ankle joint until when you're going side to side. So if you look at me now, I'm going side to side. How far do you go? As wide as you can go, okay? You're going side to side, and now I'm going to start talking you through the proper techniques involved in foam rolling now that we've got a bigger target area. So what I'm doing here, I'm scanning and searching by going side to side. What am I scanning and searching for? Areas of high pain, you're damn right, okay? So that feels, ooh, that's all right. Oh, that feels absolutely horrific. So that's what we'd identify, and I'm being serious, is an area of high pain. But before I get excited, I'm just going to go further left and right. I'm going to just go further up a little bit of that. Oh, aye, so there we go, it's even worse. So that's my point. Don't just stop when you feel high pain. Explore the vicinity of that high pain and look for ground zero. Look for the worst possible part of that pain. Now that I've found it, okay, and this is where people go wrong with foam rolling. They just go, okay, this is great, okay, I'm going to be super mobile in no time. Nah, you're not. Okay, we need to break up all these little sore spots, so we put time into it. So, on that note, stop farting about, please. I don't need a guided tour of your living room, Karen. Get yourself on that foam roller, you especially. Let's go. We need some depth in those squats. So I'm pushing down. I'm being proactive. It looks like I'm just lying here. Okay, now I'm pushing down with all my might. The first method we use on the foam roller, and you can apply it to the ball as well, is the pressure wave sequence. So I'm trying now to push down as hard as I can and introduce more and more weight onto this problem area. And what I'm doing the whole time is my scrubbing. So how do I scrub on this? It's pretty simple. Rock it back and forward, rock it side to side. When you rock it side to side, you'll feel it working against the grain of the muscle tissue, and it'll probably feel absolutely brutal. If you're finding this pretty chilled, you're not putting in the required work, I tell you that, or you're not on a sore spot. I'm seeing people yawning, I'm seeing people looking like they're bored. Okay, now that's fine, it's the most probably mundane class that we'll do, but, oh aye, no names, but I can see multiple people. Okay, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it is. If you're inflicting enough pain on yourself and you're working on that problem area, you will not be yawning. Okay, you'll be making other facial expressions. So I'm scrubbing and I'm applying more and more pressure. You can't see me applying more and more pressure, but once I feel that, right, I'm pushing down on there, it feels disgusting. I'm going to get my other leg because, yep, you drag it around all day long, but you don't appreciate that. That other leg weighs a fair bit. Now put that other leg on top. Don't put all the weight of the leg on top, just start to introduce more and more weight and keep the scrubbing going back and forward, okay? So the weight of that leg is now added. Oh, and if you can really go for it, see how I've now bridged up? So now I've got maximum weight on here, and I won't lie to you, everyone, I am struggling to keep a straight face because this feels absolutely horrendous. So pressure wave, that's what that is. We apply this to any area that we're foam rolling. The first part of it is trying to get as much weight loaded onto that foam roller as I can. The second thing we do, and this really depends where you are, but for most areas we can get away with it, we contract and relax. The final and the worst by far technique we're going to use here is I'm pinning my sore spot, that area of high pain, that problem area, I'm pinning it to the foam roller, and now I'm going to introduce what we call, this is the worst possible one we can do, okay, we're smashing and flossing technique. So what I'm going to do with this foot now is, while I'm pushing down with all my weight, is I'm going to start rotating it around, and if you get this right, you'll understand why it's the worst. So I'm going to start making circles with my feet while keeping a nice and very relaxed face. Make whatever noises you want because you're all on mute. I don't have that luxury. So I'm pushing down. It's important here, okay? So as I rotate round, you're going to be lengthening and shortening that muscle tissue while jamming it between the foam roller and your bone, okay? So that alone sounds nasty, and that's because it is. Now, when you're doing that, don't wince. As in, don't try and go real fast. You hit an area of really high unbearable pain, and then you go, oh, and ease off. I want you to push down hard. If it's feeling that bad, go slow. Introduce the pain slowly, okay? And you will be able to relax into the pain. Okay, and then we can do, so I'm doing the circles with my feet, okay? And then also what we can do is point the toes to the extreme, lift them up to the extreme, and then you're going to feel it as well, lengthening and shortening those muscles while jamming that horrible, seized up, tied up, horrible hard tissue to the foam roller, okay? And that's all we're doing here. So I'm going to move on. We spent a lot of time there on the ankles, and I'll be honest, I spent all that time just on that one problem area. Mobility and flexibility is a battle you'll never win. You'll realise that. You go out and push your body, these little areas will crop up. So I was working round about down there, and I want you to do that on the whole area of your calf, everybody, okay? Not today. I want you to remember, I've bookmarked. I got probably, I would say, to the middle of my lower leg, and now I'm going to change legs. So this is the one where most people need the work, let's be honest, okay? You hear me harp on about ankle mobility and the importance it plays. For those of you who struggle to squat, as in you look at your squat and your knee hardly bends or you hardly hit any depth, it's going to be your ankles that are jammed up tight, okay? And the chances are, if you're a runner, that's probably why. Running is just detrimental to our ankle mobility. Anyway, hit the pause button in that conversation. Side to side, full width, okay? A little bit of pain, doesn't feel very nice. Side to side. Why are we going side to side? Because we're working against the grain of that muscle tissue, okay? I've said it before. Well, I've not said it before. Well, I have said it before, but that doesn't matter. I'm saying it now. Side to side. Feels disgusting. Right, there's an area. I know exactly where to go. I'm just playing the fool. Okay, I'm playing the fool for those of you who are new to this. So I know exactly where to go. If you do this often, or we bookmarked it from last time, go straight to that point you left off at. So I'm straight on there now. I know the area of high pain, so all I need to do is just have a quick left to right, up and down, just to find the exact dead centre, okay, of that knotted up tissue. Right, I've found it. So now what do? I should be getting the answers from you, okay, but unfortunately you're all muted. So first thing I do, pressure wave. I'm pushing down on that foam roller, okay, while scrubbing. So up and down will feel all right. Why? Because we're going with the grain of the muscle. It's the side to side, okay. Oh! Okay, that's just awful. Oh, here's a disclaimer note: health and safety, okay. I mentioned it at the start. Did no one hear it? We shouldn't be hurting myself. Now, if you are feeling this awful, like I am, and there's a high level of pain coming with it, then chances are after this class and tomorrow, you're going to feel a little bit bruised and tender, and you might even be a little bit bruised. Please don't feel the need to send me any pictures followed by a nasty message with exclamation marks, which you usually get as if it was me that put them there, okay? It depends how tender you truly are. You might get some bruising, okay? At the end of the day, if you go for a deep tissue massage, you don't come out of it feeling great. You come out of it feeling absolutely beat up, okay? And then the next day, probably all the more so. So remember, that's exactly what we're doing. So if you're inflicting a lot of high pain, because what are we doing? Think about it. I've got the muscle tissue, and I'm crushing that muscle tissue between bone and the foam roller, and I'm grinding it up, okay? As nasty as it sounds, and it is nasty, that's what we want. In an ideal world, we should be able to do that because our muscles are nice and supple, that there's no pain. But we abuse our bodies daily. We abuse our bodies more than we look after them, don't we? We're all guilty of it. So it's important that you put in all this work to make it better, so that you can keep performing, not just at your best, but at better. Okay, we could all perform better if we do this stuff more often. And that's why I'm not going to do a sales pitch, okay, with the mobility stuff. That's not why I let everybody in tonight. Okay, this isn't trying to lure you in now. This is for your own benefit, but with the mobility, because there's plenty of classes on that for YouTube channel for free. With this, it sells itself. And I know the people that do it and the people that do it regular with us, they're doing it because they feel the benefit and they see the benefit, okay? It's not just me telling you, oh, you should do your mobility work. You hear me saying that and you always see folk going, oh, I know, I really should, okay, but then they never do. But then you've got the people that actually do it and they're starting to see and feel the benefits. And I'm seeing them, doing them. Right, okay, I'm done. Okay, so hopefully you were using those techniques. You weren't waiting for me to say what we got. We've got number one, the pressure wave. I'm trying to push as much weight down there as I can. Number two, once that feels like I'm getting as much weight on there and I'm grinding it, I'm scrubbing it and it's feeling still painful but manageable, I start to contract, relax, depending what muscle it is. Okay, you might, it's like some people, they know how to raise their eyebrow without raising another one. Okay, that's not something you inherit genetically. You have to develop the motor skills to lift one and not the other. Now everybody's trying it. So it's the same thing. If you want to contract your calf muscle, you have to work out the motor skill to contract that. And you will do it. If you keep practicing it, you might end up contracting your quads in the process, but eventually you'll learn what you need to do to just contract that muscle and that alone. Anyway, let's have a wee break. Okay, get a drink of water and I want you to shove your trainers on. I've just realised I've left mine in here. So it's important. I want you to grab something that's a rubber sole, okay? When I say break, I literally meant grab your trainers. Don't be going away to the toilet, please, unless you absolutely have to. I can't really talk the amount of times I've had to pause these classes. So you don't need to tie your laces too tight, but then don't have them too loose, okay? So why are we putting our shoes on? Because we're about to stretch out the ankles, okay? If you don't have a rubber sole, if your feet are absolutely bouffing, okay, and they're stinking and they're sweaty and they're all horrible, and you put them up against your wall and you just feel them stick, then you'll get away with it. Gads, okay? But if you're better getting this thing on. Now, I want you to imagine you don't need a bench. You're better with a wall. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't have a wall, I can see plenty of them, okay? You've got a wall. So I want you to do the ankles. Now, if you've not done these before, listen in and look in, especially if you've got a small screen. So for my wall, I want to try and get the actual ball. Everybody's happy with the ball of their foot, okay? It's where your toes connect to the actual foot, that hard bit of bone. I want to get the ball up on the wall. So if your ankles are real tight and you can't lift your toes too high, you'll end up just getting the toes on. And then you'll be like, I can't feel anything. I just feel like my toes are getting a nice stretch. And that's why I want you to lean back, get those toes high up the wall so that your heel is nice and close to the wall. Part one. Part two, bend the knee. I want you to bend that knee until you feel a stretch down here. Okay, down at the actual ankle joint. Okay, all that tissue here is going to be getting pulled, and that is exactly what I'm after and what I'm trying to achieve here. So, first part, push the knee forward until you feel that stretch engage, and then what I want you to do is you can shift your body closer to the wall, and when I shift my body closer to the wall, what I'm doing then is putting more body weight into that. I'm driving down. Now, where this thing doesn't work, before you commit to this stretch, push your foot hard in front of you. If your foot moves, you're not in a good enough position. Your foot should be wedged, and that's why I told you to put your trainers on. Okay, so I'm shifting forwards, I'm shifting forwards, I'm shifting forwards, and I'm pushing down. Now, for those of you with real tight ankles, as in your ankles are just seized, what I would like you to do, or what everybody should try right now, is see your knee. I want you to rock it back and forward, okay? And what that'll help you identify is whether you're actually relaxed or not. Now, you only do that briefly and then stop, because I don't want you bouncing the stretch. For those who are really tight and don't feel a stretch because they are that tight, that's a good way of just getting it going. For those of you who are feeling it's pretty uncomfortable, that just gentle rock back and forward is also great for making you realise, all right, I'm not relaxed. Now I am, okay? Because this is an uncomfortable one for a lot of people. You know, even me, I pride myself in my ankle mobility, okay? But for all of us, we're able to get to that point where it's uncomfortable regardless. So it doesn't matter if you've got great ankle mobility or not. You should be able to take it to a point that's uncomfortable and develop on it. So I'm pushing down as hard as I can. With the stretching, you take it to the point in which you feel it's at max stretch. I want you to focus on your breathing, and I want you to, every so often, as in literally maybe 10 seconds or so, increase the stretch marginally. Okay, now you're going to increase with that the discomfort. What I don't want to see, and why I'm probably going to turn a blind eye, because it's the one thing that makes me angry, is when people are farting about an ankle stretch, especially those of you that I know need to do this more than anything. I see people farting about on this all the time. They hold it half-arsed against the wall, They start kind of picking their calluses on their palms of their hands, or having a wee look over at the mantelpiece and going, oh God, I really must dust that. Focus. Take it further now. Take it further now. Keep that process going. Focus on your breathing, relaxing, relaxing, relaxing that muscle tissue while we're stretching it out, okay? Now, for those of you who say you stretch your ankles, 2 minutes max, 2 minutes minimum we're holding this stretch for. What are we doing when we're stretching? You take it to the point where the stretch kicks in. That's your brain tensing up the muscle to stop you dislocating or damaging the joint. What your brain doesn't realise is there's a lot more to play with before that happens. Relax, walk around, okay? Again, we've restricted the blood flow, so with that, get the blood back in there before you change feet. So our brain doesn't realise that it can go a wee bit further, so we have to persuade it. And just like fitness, that comes at the cost quite often of a bit of discomfort and pain, okay? With stretching, we don't really want pain, we want discomfort. With foam rolling, you're gonna get pain. So again, get the foot right up high so that your heel's nice and close to that wall. And then I want you to push the knee forwards, okay? Now, I can tell you right now, my left ankle's always a lot tighter than my right. So I can describe to you, for those with severe ankles, exactly what's happening here. So I don't feel much of a stretch down there because I can't even get much on, because right now at this moment in time, it's pretty damn tight. So what I'm going to do is just rock it back and forward. And as I'm rocking it back and forward, I'm just taking that initial stiffness out. And now I'm starting to feel it ease off, starting to feel a bit of a stretch. So now I'm going to shift forwards a wee bit so that I'm loading, I'm putting more weight onto that and pushing even harder into that foot. Now remember, that foot should be anchored. No matter how hard you push that foot into the wall, it should not slide down the wall, and it should not move. When you're pushing your knee forward, we're trying to keep it in line with our toes. Don't let it drift off to the left or right. So again, taking it to that point, it feels it's at max stretch. I stay relaxed, and then I increase it. Okay, every 10 seconds, just increase it more and more and more, and that's all we're doing. We get what we call maintenance. We'll start with maintenance. That's an easier word to pronounce. We get our maintenance stretching, okay? That's like you going out and doing a gym session that you lifted the same weights that you've been lifting for months, okay? You're not going to get better, but you're going to maintain. But what we want to do here is develop. We want to get better. So we're doing developmental. That's the word, boom. Developmental stretching. So that means that we're going to the point in which we can already go to and then some, okay? We're going out of our comfort zone. It's not nice, okay? For those of you who are jammed up tight, make sure that knee always has a bend in it and you're always pushing that knee forward. That keeps the stretch on the ankle joint itself and in and around that area. So, runners, because that's why you're here, this is probably the main area you need to be working on more than anything, okay? Foam rolling the hell out of your ankles and doing your ankle stretches, because when we're running, your ankles are already working in a very short range of movement. So then they tighten up within that short range of movement. So for those of you who don't keep on top of this, and your squat resembles something like this, and that's not me exaggerating, you know that's not me exaggerating, or you do in fact make an effort to bend your knee, but instead this happens, okay, and your heels come off. That's the root of the problem there, it's your ankles. So when I'm trying to squat, if you look at my ankle joint, as I'm bending my knee, in order for me to be able to bend my knee and push my knee forward, I need that ankle mobility, okay? Without it, it stops, I can't go any further, so I come off the heels, or I don't bother bending my knees anymore and I just do that, okay? And then all I'm really doing is bowing forward, which is, it is a waste of time. Sort it out, get your ankles done. Straight into part two, we're blending it into part one, just in case you're wondering why we've had a costume change. It's not stars in your eyes, it's part two. Right, hamstring stretch, hamstring mobility. We're going to get into our hamstring mobility. You're going to need a bench, a coffee table, hard dining chair. It needs to be something with not much give in it, okay? If you've got something spongy and you sit in that ball, it's just going to sink into what you're sitting on. That's why it has to be something hard. Now your hamstrings, if you're not sure, just below your glutes, down towards your knee, that is the massive area we're working on. So I want you to go the full width of your hamstrings. Start just underneath the butt and go all the way out and all the way in, okay? And remember, we're working against the grain of the muscle tissue. So how we do it, a lot of people do it wrong. They get their foam roller, they lie out on the floor and they try and do it the way we do our quads, okay? That doesn't get in there anywhere near as deep. These are a big muscle group, okay? So all I'm going to do is literally
sit in the ball, but I'm going to push it down so that it's below my butt cheek. Okay, don't put it on the glutes because you'll find lots of pain and discomfort in there. And this isn't the best position for it. We're going to be getting into the glutes next or soon. So I'm sitting on the ball just at the bottom of my butt cheek, and all I'm going to do is just go side to side, working against that grain, remember. Just imagine all those big long muscle fibers or those guitar strings, and we're just working against them. So I'm going in until I find pain, and I'm pretty sure for a lot of people you won't have to venture too far. This is where you need to have a bench where your your knee is at least in line with your hip. If your knee's higher because your bench or chair's too low, you're not going to get the same amount of weight in. If that's the case and that's all you've got, you might have to straighten your leg out a wee bit to get more weight down into that ball. So you can't see what's going on. All I can do is talk you through it, but to be fair, it's like anything. You jam it into the muscle group, I'm telling you, you move around side to side until you find a bit of pain. And then again, remember, if you're on a bench like mine, rather than shuffling back and probably falling off it, just get your hand under there and manually move the ball down a little bit, side to side, okay? And I've felt a good bit of horrible pain already. So I'm on it. Usual sketch. We know what we're doing. We've been doing it long enough. Pushing down into it now, okay? Scrubbing it side to side, up and down, little circles. Just trying to knead that ball in deeper and deeper and deeper into the muscle tissue because we've got a massive amount of muscle tissue to get through, and that's why for the hamstrings we need the little ball. You can get a bit of see these folk that disrupt my class turning up when they please, I tell you what. Right, keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to have to walk to the computer and let this person in, and we all know who it's going to be, don't we? The usual suspects, right? So is it mobility? Is it a workout? What's going on? Ah! It's a mobility class. You've not missed out on anything. Okay, we're on the hamstrings. We're on the hamstrings, if you can hear me. We're sitting on the ball. Hits! Okay, we did wait for you. I knew you were going to be late, so we did wait for you. I even drank a wee coffee while I waited. So I'm sitting on the ball. I've got it on my hamstrings, and all I'm doing is side to side against the grain of the muscle tissue, and I've found pain. High pain, okay, not low pain. If it's low pain, skip past it. We don't have the luxury of time on these kind of overview sessions, okay? If it was hamstrings, we'd be on here for about 10 minutes, working as much of the hamstrings as we could. So I'm on here now, I'm really pushing down into it. What you can do is a good technique, again, it depends on how you're sat, is while I'm pinning that down with a lot of weight, I can start leaning forwards, okay? And just that lean forward is almost like a version of our smash and floss. So you know how when we're usually moving a limb around, okay, if we're on the chest or back, this is similar. So if you lean back and lean forward, that's going to stretch, lengthen out and shorten your hamstrings. So this is where, if you're feeling nothing, okay, just make sure you're actually on a decent surface. You can do this on the floor if you absolutely have to, but the problem with that is when you're on the floor, you have to have your legs straight. So you'll struggle to get right in there, but also you expose that sciatic nerve a little bit more. It's a lot easier for you to pinch that sciatic nerve with the ball. Not something to be scared of, it just means if you hit your sciatic nerve, you're going to start feeling maybe your toes going, woo, okay, or you might start feeling pins and needles, just briefly. So if you feel any of that, I'd just tell you to move off. Okay, so I'm on that area, it's disgusting. We can, depending on the the height of the surface you're sat on, this is another technique. Flexing and extending the knee is another way of smashing and flossing, but again, if you're too low, I'm pretty much borderline here, okay, foot scraping on the ground. We don't want to be lifting off of that ball as I move my leg. I want to be pushing down as hard as I can. So for most people, you're better off just giving it the whole, leaning forward to lengthen out, and then go back to shorten it out and just keep that process going. Don't forget your scrubbing, okay? It's just like any other muscle group. We're scrubbing the hell out of it. Side to side, up and down. Easy peasy, okay? As always, it's an open forum. It's a runner's special, part 2, blending into part 1. But if you've got anything that you specifically want to address, pipe up, okay? But we are working through, today we'll be working on the hamstrings. So now I want you to, the last 30 seconds we'll call it, I want you just to side the full length of your entire hamstring to the bottom of the knee now. Why? Because it's going to give you an idea of what you've got to work with. Okay, so next time you come back, now remember, don't fall off your chair, don't fall off your bench, get your hand under there and move that ball. So side to side, the full width okay, and then move the ball down a fraction, side to side, and all this is getting is, we're not spending enough time on all these painful spots that you're encountering as you go down, but we're still getting some goodness in there as well, so push down as hard as you can and make it as uncomfortable as you can bear. But more than anything, it's giving you a chance to identify how bad things potentially might be. Just like everything, some people will find this absolutely horrific. Some people think it's, oh, it's not too bad, this. Okay, everybody's different. For me personally, again, just to give you something to go off of, more towards the glutes is where I'm feeling it. Okay, higher up the hamstrings, higher up the leg, not getting too much down. Whoa, he says that. As I get behind the knee, just above the kneecap, I'm starting to feel some pain and discomfort in there. Okay, so that'd be an indicator to me that, yep, okay, next time I do these, I'm going to get stuck into just behind my knee and I'm going to get stuck into just below my butt. That's where the painful areas are for me. So I'm feeling a lot of pain and discomfort in there, just behind my knee. And that is, like I say, let's say I've got a dodgy knee. My knee feels a little bit painful, a little bit tender. Maybe after a run, you're starting to get the onset of runner's knee. That's when I would be getting stuck into the hamstrings because they attach into the back of the knee. I'd be getting stuck into the quads. Remember that suprapatellar stretch that we've done? Stretch mobility one where we were rolling around here. No one can forget that. We just done it not long ago and it was absolutely brutal. And then get into the calves as well. All that feeding into the knee, put a bit of goodness into those muscle tissues and they might just help ease off what the problem is in there. Next side, okay, simple. Again, we've got the butt cheek, just below the butt cheek, hamstrings, the entire length of the hamstrings down into the knee. Okay, and the entire width as well. We want to be going the entire width. So I'm sitting on the ball, starting just below the base of the butt. And this is, if you're a steady mobility follower, then I would just say to you, go to where you left off last time we've done these, okay? So for me, I know straight away about the first third of the hamstrings, okay, below the bum, that's where I'm getting a hell of a lot of discomfort. But that's me personally. So what do I do? Okay, I find the worst part. I'm going to spend my 2 minutes on the worst part. Scrub it, okay? It's not until you scrub it that, it's like I say, imagine you're in a dense forest, okay? You've got to get through all the crap. So that's what we're doing, side to side, and the scrubbing is just helping get deeper and deeper while I'm putting more and more pressure and weight onto this ball. So keep the scrubbing going. Don't just sit on it and just think, bah, it's quite uncomfortable that, okay? Be proactive, try and actually do something with it, okay? And it's hard. You're trying to relax the muscle tissue and you're trying to push down into it as hard as you can. Once you feel you're getting a good bit of weight on that, that's when you can start your whole leaning forwards and slightly leaning back, okay? And all I'm doing there, when you think about it, is lengthening and shortening the hamstring. So I'm keeping good form, good posture. It's like a toe touch, okay? And it's just scrubbing. It's just pulling those hamstrings. But if you're not feeling it, it's because you're not pinning that sore spot. That area of high pain needs to be pinned to that ball, okay? See, when it seems like I'm explaining things again and again and again, it's only because when I look on live, I see people looking at the screen, looking a little bit confused. So if you feel I'm over-explaining things, stop looking confused. But if you're pretty happy, that's good. Maybe it's pain faces I'm getting mistaken with. I just see people looking at the screen going, oh. But either way, so there is no right or wrong. You can see as I'm doing it, I'm just kind of always moving around, fidgeting around, trying something different, trying a new angle. Okay, it's just me trying to, in a non-sick way, trying to make it more painful. Because the more pain and discomfort I get into this ball, the more I'm getting out of it. And that's just the way it is with this stuff. Oh, okay, and it's not pretty, but I'll always say try. Try to keep that face relaxed, okay? If the pain face switches on, just go, right, relax, and then continue. So I'm scrubbing it side to side, last few seconds, and then we'll just work the entire area quickly, just to give you a kind of overview of your hamstrings. So, spent a good 2 minutes. I've been putting a lot of weight on that. It's been a hell of a lot of discomfort involved. Okay, so hopefully that's just feeding a bit more slack into my hamstrings. Now, what I want you to do is exactly what we've done last time. Side to side, the full length, sorry, the full width moving down the full length. So I've done side to side, so I'm just going to get my hand under there, shift the ball down a couple inches, side to side. Okay, if you find any areas of high pain, really push on it. I want you to really push as much weight down on here. You'll feel all those muscle tissues. You'll feel the muscle tissue going pip, 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 pip if you're pushing hard enough, okay, as it's working against that grain. It's not nice, but it's not meant to be. And then I move down a wee bit more. Okay, so I'm finding all sorts of pain and discomfort in this one, which is interesting. You might just find that it's the same. You might find one side's a lot worse than the other. What I would always say is, it's like changing tyres on a car. God, I love these analogies. I don't know where they come from. They just come to me. It's like, you don't want to change one tyre, do you? You do really. That's just quick fit trying to rip you off. No, you want to change two at the same time. You don't just go and buy one shoe, do you? I don't know where this is going. I really don't know where this is going. But if you've got one dodgy side, is all I'm saying. Don't just do one side. It's always good to put the love into the other side. So let's say you've got a dodgy right knee. Spend all that time on one side. Do the same work on the other side. It's only going to benefit it. And chances are, if you have had I say dodgy knee, it could be anything dodgy, ankle, anything, shoulder. Chances are the strong one's been compensating, so it's always a good idea just to share the love a little bit. Right, okay, so we've done the mobility work, we've smashed up the hamstrings. As always, it's 2 minutes. If you need more time on that, pause, or if you don't have that luxury because you're on live, make a mental note. Right, so we've done the mobility, now we're going to bring the flexibility in. The hamstring flexibility stretch never changes. Why? Because it's the best damn one we can do. I want you to grab your resistance band, okay? You don't necessarily need a mat. As always, check your resistance band on a daily basis for any sort of wear and tear that might cause damage to you or yourself. So anyway, hooking it around the ball of my foot. I'm flying through these. You know them well. Grabbing it, lying back, keeping that leg straight. Key points with this knee stays locked out, okay? So I'm pushing that knee away from me. That's going to lengthen out the hamstrings. I'm trying to get as much a grip and pull down on this resistance band with as much tension as I can. However, I must be able to lie flat with my shoulder blades relaxed. I don't want you up like this going, okay, because you're just going to get tired. The other leg, we're keeping it completely dead weight on the ground. Don't bend the knee of that leg. Keep this leg down. That's your anchor. And then I want you to take it to the point in which you feel your hamstrings are about to snap, and that's your starting point. You focus on your breathing. And then you take it another inch or two, okay? And you keep that process going. So don't just hold it in the one position. I want you to work this. And this involves a high level of discomfort if you do it properly. Focus on your breathing, take it a wee bit further, and just keep that process going. With your foot, the actual toes, I want you to make sure that they're relaxed, as in this resistance band is pulling those toes down, and that's going to help lengthen out your calves. It's going to build into lengthening out your hamstrings. We don't want to be fighting this resistance band at all. So that leg is completely relaxed, and I'm taking it back as far as I can, and I keep pushing that knee to make sure it's locked out. Do it properly, and you'll get a hell of a lot out of this one. Don't do it properly, and you won't. It's as simple and as clear-cut as that. You can't cheat mobility, okay? You really can't cheat mobility. You know, when people say, oh yeah, I've done my stretches, I've done them loads last week, it's so obvious when they haven't. Or if they really are convinced you that they've done them, they've not done them well enough. You work on your mobility in a very short space of time, you'll see a massive improvement if you put the work in. It's like anything. Do it half-arsed. Don't focus on trying to take it further and develop, and you will stay the same, and it'll be clear as day. You cannot hide your mobility. So take it as far as you can. We should almost be at the point already where you feel if you go any further, you are going to snap it. Okay, it's really uncomfortable. You've got it at max length. It's almost about at the point where you're about to start shaking, but we don't want that because that's not relaxed. But it ain't nice. Focus on that breathing. Good, and we're going to change sides. Change sides, everybody. So, simple stretch, very simple, but in my opinion, and that's all that matters, I'm only kidding. So in my opinion, this is the single best hamstring stretch you can get. We're really isolating the hamstrings, and you'll feel it. You'll feel on this one, and you'll see on this one if your hamstrings are tight. And this is one where you'll always get people, I say it a lot, get into the stretch. I'm just going off on one again. You'll hear people, oh, I've got tight hamstrings, and see a lot of the time you put them into this stretch and they don't have tight hamstrings, okay? It's a lot of people are very quick to say their hamstrings are tight. Often the case. A good sign of hamstring mobility is to get in this stretch and be able to have your leg at 90 degrees, okay, 90 degrees to the other one that is. That's the sign of very good hamstring mobility, okay. Most people when they first start end up about somewhere where it's not quite 90 degrees but no far off of it, okay. So a lot of the time, that tightness is feeding from the glutes, the lower back, the full kind of posterior chain, but a lot of the time it's just, from what I've seen from experience, it's not actually flexibility issues, it's mobility. People are just jammed up and they don't understand the movement patterns properly. But that's not to say that you don't have tight hamstrings. All I'm saying is, if you think you've got tight hamstrings and you're able to get this band close to 90 degrees, you don't have tight hamstrings. I'm telling you that now. When I say close to 90 degrees, close to, if you're about here, that's still decent hamstring mobility. A lot of people can't even get it to here. That would be bad hamstring mobility, okay? And I've seen that, and that is bad. But for most people, get up to 90 degrees, take it as far as you can, and keep holding it, which I hope by now you're about at least a minute into this stretch. So pull that resistance band down, keep the toes relaxed, keep the knee locked out, keep that other leg dead weight, and just keep pulling it back another inch or two. So you're focusing on the breathing. Your muscles will relax a little bit, but it's not a case of you're waiting for it to feel you're waiting for it not to feel uncomfortable. That doesn't happen. Okay, when I say they relax a little bit, they'll let you your muscles will let you go that couple inches more. But each couple inches that you add to this, the more uncomfortable it's going to get. So please, if you're focusing on your breathing, waiting for the muscles to relax in the sense that you're waiting for the discomfort to go away, it's not going to happen. Okay, when I say relax, you'll be able to go just that couple inches more. Okay, we're nearly there. Really go for it now. Make sure the toes are relaxed. Make sure this band is pulling down. Okay. Let's relax there, everybody. So, okay, glutes now. Butt cheek. All I want you to do is quite simple. You've got the ball. It needs to be a hard floor. So see if you're sitting on a rug or a big fancy, I don't know, carpet, and this ball's got lots of room to sink into, that's again going to be problematic. You're wanting a pretty hard surface. So here's a top tip. If you have got a big plush carpet, go get something hard, like a bit of wood. Sit on it with a ball. Full of great ideas, okay, all of them. Right, so now I need you to tilt your body. So you can see I've tilted a little bit towards you. Why? So that I can get all my weight onto this one cheek. And all I want you to do is stay away from the top. I want you to stay away from the top, okay, which feels like we're going in almost to your lower back, because that's the next part we're going to work on. So all I want you to do, we do the glutes quite often. So you should know your problem areas. But if you don't, look what I'm doing. Big circle, starting on the outer, working my way closer into the centre of the glutes and just looking for the areas of pain. I found a few. Okay, now I'm just making sure I'm looking for areas of high pain. And I'm pretty sure most people in their glutes will find them. If you're not feeling too much, move this leg around, okay? Now, I want you to single in on what feels like a bit of high pain. Okay, so we've got one. Maybe you're taking a wee bit longer. Either way, you will find it. And start scrubbing. Okay, up and down, side to side. If you can't find any specific area of high pain and the whole glutes themselves just feel tender, just work an area, okay? Be a bit more loose with your scrubbing, if you like. Don't be so focused on the scrubbing area. A bit more side to side and a much more up and down. But if you found an area of high pain, really isolate it. Little side to side, little up and down, little circles. And all I'm trying to do, okay, is relax my glutes. Because if you're on that ball and it's feeling painful, you'll feel it. If it feels like that ball is just kind of on the top of your glutes, basically, if it doesn't feel like the ball is sinking into the glutes fully, okay, and that muscle tissue's wrapping around the glutes, then you're not relaxed, okay? Oh God almighty, see these folk. with dodgy broadband connections interfering with my routine. I'm only kidding. Right, so ding dong, back on the ball. I'm on my spot, side to side, up and down. It feels awful, okay? Hopefully you're getting something from this too. And it is a case of, this is it, okay? For a lot of people, they'll find a lot of pain. It's all about the more pain that you can get on this, the more weight you can get on this, the harder you can scrub this and keep that muscle tissue in a relaxed state, the more you're going to get out of it. So it doesn't work if you just go gun-ho and go, ah, okay? Because you're not going to be relaxed and you're not going to get much out of it either. So things are heating up in here. Whew. Told you. It's the best way to raise your body temperature, this stuff. So now I've been on here for about a good minute. I'm starting to feel it getting in deeper. Okay, that muscle tissue's starting to relax. So I can start up and down. Okay, I can do my kind of breaststroke style legs for those who know how to swim. If you don't, just move your leg around like you're doing a bit of, what's his name, and like you're at the disco. Whatever you've done in your day, I don't know, whatever dance moves you've got for us. So another way to do this is, it's always the worst one, this. Once you feel you've spent a good bit of time on it, get that knee, get the foot across, pin it onto the knee, and that's going to lengthen out the glutes fully. So now I'm going to get onto my elbow, and this is where you'll find a hell of a lot of discomfort and pain. So I want you to spend 30 seconds. Hey, if this is hell on earth for you, get on it and get it done. Okay. So it's not nice. Remember, try and stay away from the high glute. Try and stay away from the top of the glutes, as in right up towards your pelvis. See if you tilt right out to the outer glutes, right out at the near, wow, you'll probably feel a good bit of pain in there. It'll be a different feeling of pain. You'll notice that muscle to muscle, it's a different type of pain, which is good, because variety is the spice of life, people. We don't want to feel the same type of pain over and over again. Oh no. So get stuck into it, smash it, get it done, scrub it. Come on, am I the only one doing this? Get on it. Don't make me use your name out loud. Get on it now, you're sitting there just chilling out. You need this more than anybody else. Damnable. Right, here we go. So if you feel you've pulled your lower back out recently, or you're still having jip because your lower back's still feeling not quite right, you should be on this and giving it your all. Okay, relax, change sides. So, glutes, remember, we don't just benefit the glutes when we do this, we benefit everything around the glutes. So, if you've got a dodgy lower back, your lower back's feeling tight, okay, it all works in harmony. It's not just a case of that's your lower back that's tight. Glutes are probably tight, obliques are probably tight, hamstrings are probably a wee bit tight. So those are the areas that I'd be working on. Because I mean, me personally, I wouldn't want to pull my back out again. I'd want to get better. Okay, I wouldn't just be sat there spectating. Right, okay, so I'm on it, working the entire length. If you're not quite sure where to go, just big circles until you start to zone in a bit of pain. Okay, found the pain. Now I'm just going to do smaller circles just to try and get in there a bit deeper and isolate exactly where the worst part of the pain is. Body position here, okay, it's up to you. You can get down. You've got a lot of weight in your arms. You should feel like you're slowly getting more weight off your arms and more weight onto the ball, okay? But your arms will probably be getting a wee bit tired here. Boo-hoo and all that. So what you can do is get onto the elbow. That might feel a bit better, but so I'm working my area, I've got it, and you can see, just scrubbing side to side, up and down, trying to get in deeper, trying to add more and more weight onto this ball as I go, changing my body positions, but staying on the same area, and just trying to work it out. If you bring your foot nice and close to your butt, okay, again, you'll lengthen out those glutes, open them up a wee bit more, straighten it out, you'll get more weight onto it. So it all has its different benefits. That's why you'll just see me looking like I'm constantly fidgeting around. I'm keeping that scrubbing going, pushing down as much weight as I can, and just changing the position, okay, of my limbs as such. And then finally, for the last 30 seconds, I'm going to chuck that foot on, pin it on there, just really expose those glutes, and I'm just going to put a bit of work into the entire area. Okay, so I'm going to spend the last few seconds on that problem area I was working on, really go for it, okay? And then I'm just going to start working the entire glutes now, just to try and get some goodness into the whole area. So it doesn't feel nice at all, but it might actually. It's like a horrible pain, but it feels like you're doing some good. So glutes are a big one, literally a big one. It's a big, powerful muscle group. It should be getting used, and it does get abused. So if it is all jammed up tight, which is often the case with a lot of people, that's going to affect a lot of things. Okay, you're going to struggle to lock your hips out, you're going to struggle to support your lower back, you're going to miss out on a lot of potential power into your exercises. Right, let's put that to one side. It's time for the beast. Okay, it's the enhanced glute stretch. I hate it, but I always feel glad I've done it. So, boom, leg out, 90 degrees, pin that foot, you know what's coming. Okay, I want you to put your all into this. We're not holding it for long, so get the most out of it. For a lot of people, it's uncomfortable. For me, it is uncomfortable. In fact, you know what? I'm going to treat myself today. I'm going to start my right leg, which is always a lot tighter. So that means, what is it? Aye, it is. Is it? Now I'm wondering. Anyway, I'm going for it. So, I recommend you pin the foot. I also recommend, see this hand? See if you put it in front of the knee, that's going to stop the knee sliding, because you'll find that if it is that tight, that knee will slide forward or the foot will slide back. So by pinning the foot and then pinning the knee, I'm minimizing that movement. And then all I'm doing is just trying to square myself up over the top so that I'm pretty much central over the top of this leg. Now, I should be feeling a good stretch out on my glutes. Hip capsule will feel under pressure if you like. Okay, running down into what feels like your kind of hamstrings, maybe quads, but that's just the angle you've got your leg at. And I want you to focus on just relaxing into this one. Now you have to try and get more and more weight on this leg. You'll find that if it is jammed up tight, that you will be fighting it. Okay, and you'll be fighting it in the form of this knee will be trying to drive into the ground, this foot will be trying to drive into the ground, and your body will be trying to do everything it can to stop you putting weight on that hip, the hip of the bent leg. Okay, once you feel you're kind of doing all right, you can get down onto the elbows. That will help lengthen things out more, but it will also let you get more weight down onto it. So I'm focusing on my breathing. And I'm trying to achieve a nice relaxed state. Now you can see me, I'm doing my fidgeting again, but I'm not, I'm being proactive with my stretch. So I'm keeping that stretch on. Any movement that I'm doing, I'm not easing out of my stretch, I'm enhancing it. I'm just moving around, mobilizing within this position, looking for little pockets of tightness that might need addressed. Like I said, for a lot of people, this can be pretty uncomfortable. And I'm telling you now, I'm not comfortable, this is horrible. Bring the chest up, push down, move around. Okay, now I want you to relax. So we get up out of that one. I want you to stand up between that because we are putting our body in quite a restricted position. So just let the blood flow. Hopefully, see just by doing the glutes and the hamstrings already, see if you were feeling pretty tight around this zone, as in the lower back was feeling pretty tight, you were a bit like that this morning. Oh, that whole thing going on. Hopefully just from doing that without even getting to the lower back, because we're not doing lower back today, we've still got the high glutes to go, which is close enough to the lower back. Hopefully just from doing that, you're feeling you've fed a good bit of goodness and a good bit of, what's the word, slack into that area, okay, without actually even going near the lower back. Right, let's go change legs. Because, like I say, people get a tight lower back, or what feels like a tight lower back. What do? They do a lower back stretch, okay? And that feels nice, but it might not be fixing the issue or addressing the issue entirely. So don't forget that. You'll hear me repeat that constantly. And hopefully that's a lesson. So that when you start to feel little niggles or tightness or things coming on, you can get on top of it early. Yes, of course, if you hurt an area, you do want to target that area and work on that area, but don't forget to work around it as well. So I'm up on top of this, okay? I'm trying to square myself off as best I can. I've got this knee on the ground, I've got this foot on the ground. I'm not getting knee pain, okay? If you get knee pain, I want you to ease out of this a little bit, because we don't want to make it worse. No, okay, I'm down onto my elbows.
Okay, that's me though. You might be finding it hell up here. If you're finding it hell up here and you go down here, you're probably going to start going, ah. So remember, we need to keep in that relaxed state, that nice relaxed state. And once I've got there, and this side's feeling all right today, okay, I can start trying to mobilize it a bit more, move around, different angles, get lower, try to lengthen out that muscle group, add a bit of a twist, but I'm being gentle and careful with it, and just trying to be proactive with the stretch. So you see me moving around there, I'm not easing in and out of the stretch. That stretch is here, but by moving down, I'm enhancing it. By moving this way, I'm enhancing it. I'm never easing in and out of it. Focus on your breathing, keep trying to get down and get more weight onto that. Good, and that is the glutes done. We're going to finish with some high glute mobilization. So you're going to need your little ball back again. High glutes. What is the high glutes? It's exactly as it sounds. Okay, you've got the glutes themselves, the one that you can grab a hold of. See just higher up. See if you jam your fingers in, you'll feel your pelvis. It is there, okay? You'll feel the pelvis itself. Visualize the skeleton, think about it, okay? It's running down here. The high glute is the area just below the crest of the pelvis. I'll say it again, just below. You'll feel it when we lie on this in a minute. We don't want to pop up on top of the pelvis because that's us getting into the realms of the lower back. That's not what we're doing today. I want you to stay below it, okay? When you lie on this, you'll feel your pelvis bone. You'll feel if the ball rolls over it. You're just trying to pierce and push underneath and run along the crest of the pelvis, okay? Working out until you get to the outer glutes. So let's go for it, everybody. We're going to need some form of raising your feet up. Why? Because it's going to be easier for you to stop overextending your lower back, but it's going to let us get more weight down onto this ball. So you won't be able to see it when I put it there. I'm just going to use my hand and I'm going to basically see where you think your tailbone is. That's where we're starting. But remember, we don't want to be on the spine. So I want you to start just off to the side of the spine, have a wee wiggle around and find that pelvis, okay? Think about it, think about that pelvis. So what I want you to do, I'm on it now. When we're doing this one, keep a bit of tension in your core, and if you poke yourself in the stomach, you should feel a bit of hardness, okay? I want to keep that core supporting me, because why? I don't want to start overextending that lower back, because that's when you're going to hurt yourself. Now, rather than rolling around like an idiot, get the hand under there and move the ball manually. Not feeling any pain, scrub. I want you to scrub. And what I want you to do as well, while we're on here, is go. I want you to roll the ball up until you feel that pelvis bone, okay? It'll feel pretty horrible to roll on the bone. I want you to identify where you're going and how high you want to go, because I want you to find that pelvis and I want you to stay just underneath it, okay? Similar to when we're doing the shin one. Remember how we're in behind that shin bone and we jam the ball in behind the shin bone and push forwards, but that bone stops us going forwards? It's the same idea with this, with the pelvis, okay? So I want you to make sure that you're staying up at the crest of the pelvis. I don't want you to start delving down into the glutes because we've done that already. So this is side to side. Once you start to feel an area of high pain, you are on it, okay? And then I want you simply to scrub side to side, up and down, okay? But remember, it's a very targeted area, this one. So we're going to be slightly off center, okay? As you start to move further and further out of the hips, out from the center of your back, you're going to have to start leaning to the side a wee bit. Now, what you can do, again, it depends on your setup and how you've got it, but you can bring the knee up, okay? So the knee of the leg that you're on, you can pull that up and that'll help open up the area a bit more. So I've found my area of high pain, let me tell you that for nothing. So now, but I'll tell you, it's an area of high pain, but it's a very isolated area. And what do I mean by that? If I scrub too far left or right, I'm off it. So it's very much me working on a very target area. So that ball ain't moving too much when I'm scrubbing it because I don't want to lose it. And then what I can do to smash and floss, pull that knee up, okay? And again, how your body position is depends on what you've got your legs up on, okay? My bench isn't the highest, so there's no right or wrong. And I want you to work. And remember, Rather than move your body into weird positions, if you feel you need to move on, use your hand and just work. And just always checking that it should just be a case of if you try to roll up, that ball will hit your pelvis and you should feel that. That's the area I want you working on. If you just slightly try to roll up a fraction, you should hit your pelvis. Okay, that's where I want you to be at. Don't venture down into those glutes. I want you to try and untack these high glutes, and this is going to help benefit the lower back also because we're just directly below it, okay? So it's a big area and you're going to find a lot of pain. See when you start moving out towards the outer glutes, that's when you're going to feel that kind of pain change sensation again. So different areas, the pain feels different. When you get onto the outer glute, that's when you're going to feel that pain change. So it's a case of you trying to get your body in whatever position you can. So now that I'm almost on, I'm working that entire length here, okay? When I find an area of high pain, I'm putting a lot of work into scrubbing it, changing the leg position, okay? And all I'm trying to do here is move my body into the best position I possibly can that lets me get as much weight as I can on this. I'll remind you, don't let that lower back overextend. We should all be familiar with that by now and why we don't want to do it. Protect that lower back. So, last few seconds, I want you to, if you haven't already, work that entire length, okay? Side to side, up and down, scrubbing, move the ball with a hand a wee bit, a couple inches more, okay, until you get out into that outer glute. Okay, and it's not nice, but we're gonna go for it. So everybody's different, okay? How you feel that and who you feel that, it'll be different to me. So I want you to change sides. If you absolutely have to get up, but if you don't, we don't need to, there's no reason for it. So all I want you to do is just get the ball and then put it off to the other side of the tailbone. Okay, have a wee wiggle around, identify, oh, yep, there's my pelvis, because that feels horrible. It'll just feel uncomfortable when you start putting the ball onto the bone. Okay, and that's what I want you just to identify. Roll up and down, and you'll feel yourself rolling over that pelvis. I want you to make sure you're always on the underside of it, okay? But you're just underneath it in a way that lets you put your weight on the ball, but then push in to the pelvis so that you're almost jamming that muscle between the ball and the bone of the pelvis, if you get my point. So I don't want you to roll up over the pelvis, but I want you to push down and then push into the pelvis so that we're really jamming that muscle tissue up. And that's what we want to be doing, okay? Remember, it sounds disgusting, doesn't sound pleasant, and well, I'm sure you're experiencing it now. It isn't pleasant, it doesn't feel it. So I'm scrubbing side to side. For me, again, just to give you something to go off of, just to the outside of the tailbone, that first part, that's where I feel quite a bit of pain. And then usually I can move along a good bit and I don't start to feel much more pain until I start hitting that outer glute. But either way, I'm spending a good bit of time in here, scrubbing it side to side, change the position, bring that knee up higher, get more weight down on it. Remember, when you pull that knee up, you're going to lengthen out the glutes and just open it up a bit more. And you might find it's a bit better when you scrub it. But, like I say, be proactive. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So as you know by now, with the mobility classes, you could literally make a class out of one movement, one area, which we have done, the target mobility for glutes, for example. That's 45 minutes on its own. You could literally take as long as you need with just one muscle group. So the idea of these overview ones, where it's a runner's special, the reason it's a runner's special is because we're working on the muscle groups that are prone to a lot of abuse when we're running, okay? And it's the ones that I'll always find that, oh, you run a lot, do you? That's why this is wrong with you, that's why that's wrong with you, okay? Because people just go out, run, and they never do any mobility or flexibility work, and then you can see it clear as day. Can you squat for me, please? Yep, and they hardly can bend their knee. They can hardly bend their knee, they just fall forwards, their heels come off the floor. Everything's just a bit of a mess, okay? But good news is, doesn't mean you're broken, okay? Do a bit of this, Doesn't mean to say you have to load up the mobility runners special and do it, spend an hour and a half following along with the class 3 times a week. Great if you do, but you don't. The purpose of this is, as you're doing this, and everybody's different, you're going to find your problem areas. You're going to find the ones of the most pain. Geez, oh man, the calves one, that was horrendous. Then that's the ones that you know you need to prioritise. So again, 2 minutes per side, randomly throughout the day. Oh, you know what? I've been sat at this desk for 2 hours. I'm going to stand up and just refresh my head. No, I'm not. I'm going to get my foam roller out, okay? And I'm going to put a bit of goodness into my body. Have it sitting there, okay? For a lot of people, like, oh, I forget. And I get that, okay? I'm not giving you a hard time. But one thing I do if I'm trying to incorporate something new into my routine, if something new has to happen, okay, it has to be there. If it's not in your sight, it'll be out of your mind. So that's why for me now, I'm well drilled. This thing just goes everywhere the same way this does, okay? If I had to nip to the shops, this thing would be in my hand and I don't even know about it, okay? That's just happening. This thing lives in the bag that lives everywhere I go. So make a habit of, you know what, I'm always going to forget, so I'm going to get my ball out and I'm going to sit it on my desk next to my keyboard. I'm going to sit it somewhere that I see it, so it's going to give me the guilt trip if I ignore it, okay? So, hip flexors, boom. In fact, no, let's get the foam roller out. Where is it? Foam roller. We might as well put some foam rolling into these, okay? Hip flexor. Don't mistake it for your quads, but it pretty much is the quads. See right in there at the crease of the hip? What I want you to do is grab in here and you'll feel the muscle tissue in there. You need to lean forward, okay? Lean forward and grab a hold of it. I want you to grab it as tight as you possibly can while you're leaning forward here, okay? So I've grabbed, yep, get up and do it for goodness sake. I'm not doing this for the sake of just the... So we're leaning forward and then that'll give you something to grab. So get in there, grab a hold of the muscle fibers, and then what I want you to do is while you're squeezing that, stand up tall and try and straighten out your hips. I want you to try and straighten out your hips. You feel how hard that is. You feel how you can't, and then look what starts to happen. That butt's sticking out, okay? And I can't squeeze forward, so I've got this horrible curve going on in my lower back, that overextension, okay? So I'm trying to squeeze forward. Imagine this was a kettlebell swing, okay? And I couldn't do that, and that was how I looked when I locked out. And why is that happening? Because my hip flexors are tight. So by grabbing that, that's giving you an idea of what happens when you've got tight hip flexors. Okay, maybe over-exaggerating it slightly, but you can see how these tight hip flexors can cause this to start happening. Again, I'm pronouncing it a desired look for some, baffles me why, but this is not good, okay? Structurally, this is terrible for our lower back. You can't lock the hips out properly because your hip flexors are tight. People forget about that. So if you find yourself, you know, maybe you're taking your progress pictures, maybe you just want to take a picture of yourself side on. You think, right, I'm relaxed, I'm holding myself as natural as I would, but you notice this Donald Duck bum thing going on, okay, and that lower curve in your back. Hip flexors, I'm telling you now, okay? Right, okay, what about that? Very limited. I want you to basically lie down as if you were doing the quads, but boom, get this on the crease of the hip, and it's pretty obvious where you're going, okay? So I want you just to start at your pelvis bone, if you like, just underneath. And with this one, for most people, the foam roller, the width of the foam roller will take up that entire crease of the hip anyway. So what does that mean? That means that you don't really have any room to go up and down. So as soon as I lie on that crease of the hip, you'll feel the hip flexors, and see if they are tight, everybody, you'll find that you'd straight away struggle to relax them. So I'm on them, and all I want you to do is roll to your belly button and roll out. And it's a very, you'll feel it. I guarantee you'll feel it. So if you're on the right area, right high up, on the crease of those hips, you know exactly what you have to work. So you can scrub up and down gently. Ah! See if you blend it all together, if you're sick-minded. Side to side, and up and down at the same time. So see as you're going side to side, scrub up and down, but you have to stay in a relaxed state. Don't worry, we're nearly finished. I know we're pushing these on, but I don't want to make it a part 3. I don't want to be part 3 runners special. Let's get this put to bed once and for all. So side to side, I'm smashing it, okay, and I want you just to get into it. With this one, and the angle we're at, you might just struggle. There's not really much we can do. There's not really a benefit to lifting that leg, but I want you to try and get as much weight on there as you can. I want you to feel like, well, you are literally putting all your weight onto those hip flexors, and the goal is to be able to put all the weight on them and scrub them side to side, up and down, without the pain being too unbearable. Okay, that's the goal. So if your hip flexors are jammed up tight, problem is we can't really get into the hip flexors because they go right up. People don't realise it. Hip flexors go right up into the rib cage. Okay, big long muscle group, but that's where we can get them where they're exposed. We're going to change sides. Okay, now I am rushing slightly, but we've got time restraints to stick to, and I'm sure, well, I'm not sure actually, let's be honest, there's not a lot of excitement in the world right now. This may be your only source of excitement. It certainly is mine, so make the most of it. But either way, I don't want to turn into a, saying that, if it's a two-parter blended into one, it probably is a 3-hour mobility class. Oh, okay, but it's giving you an overview of all the problematic areas. If you run a lot, if you don't run a lot, like I've said, doesn't matter. This is still us benefiting all those big muscle groups that get used and abused daily if you exercise and push your body hard, which I'm sure you do. Because if you're watching this, you're probably part of that club. So side to side, as much weight down on this as you can. And if it is feeling uncomfortable, for a lot of people, this is one of them that you'll be adding to that mental list of oofed. Okay, didn't really think much about this muscle group, but I'm feeling hideous pain and discomfort here. And now he comes to mention it now, I do have a bit of a Donald Duck bum. And that's not an insult, okay? That's nothing to do with your figure. When I say Donald Duck bum, I mean you've got that pelvis tilting inwards, okay? And you've got that curve in your lower back. Doesn't mean it's just the hip flexors. Remember, once you've got a problem, chances are other problems have span out of that. You're going to have muscles overcompensating. You're going to have muscles that are weak. So it's always a combination of strength work and mobility work that's going to fix these areas. Finally, we're going to finish off with our couch stretch and then we are done for the day. So, couch stretch. I'm using a bench. That's because that's all I've got. A wall is better than a bench. A sofa is handier than a wall. So if you're in your living room, all we need is a means of getting that foot up like so. Please pay attention. I want this shin as vertical as I can. Now, because my bench is fairly low, I can't quite get it perfect. Okay, but I want you to try and get that knee directly underneath the foot because that's better. And then I want you to get this foot out as if you're in the full lunge. And the first part I want you to do is get your hands flat on the floor and just try to straighten yourself and adjust yourself up. What I don't want you doing is off to a corner kick. People get into this one too early. So what I want you to do is slowly start working your body up vertical. But I do that by pushing my hips forwards. When you push those hips forwards, you're going to feel this in the hip flexors, or if your quads are pretty tight today, you'll feel it running down the quads, or you'll feel it in the entire area. No right or wrong. But what I want you to do is you might be here, beginners, you might be here. I want you to keep that pelvis balanced, okay? I don't want you off to the side, so look at me now. This is what I don't want. I don't want you looking like this. Ah! Okay, maybe exaggerating a wee bit, but you get the point. I want you to keep the pelvis as in line as you can. Get your hands on your pelvis. Get them in there, okay? Feel the pelvis, grab a hold of the pelvis and try and handle it so that it's nice and balanced. Push the hips through. So I'm trying to mobilize myself into the correct position, okay? It doesn't quite work the same if you're way off to the side and you're pushing through. So I'm trying to teach my body to get into these movement patterns, push through, address the areas that are limiting me getting into these movements, push through with the butt as if I'm at the top of a glute bridge. This is feeling here. Now I'm fairly vertical. Beginners, you might be more like this. You need to be like this as opposed to, if you watch me now, if I lean back, which a lot of people do, all I've done here is now put horrendous strain on my lower back. I've now overextended that back, that spine, but nothing's happened. Nothing's changed in the stretch. So my point is, keep the spine neutral, push the hips through, and you get vertical, not by trying to get your body vertical, but by pushing the hips through more. So when I push these hips through, my body will naturally start to come up more. So play around with it, get it right. Just make sure, safety points, that you don't start leaning back and putting that back into overextension. Push forward, push forward, push forward. This is when you have to be proactive, because if you're not pushing forward the whole time, you're just kind of half-heartedly holding it. So you need to think, squeeze the butt, push through, push through, push through. And over time, you can see, from where I started to where I'm now finishing, okay, I've managed to get higher and higher and higher. Beginners, again, if you're way down here and you're struggling to get any higher, then I would be prioritizing this quite high up. People forget about their hip flexors. Take a breath. We're just about done, and we're going to change sides. Last one, and then we are done. So people forget about their hip flexors. But it's an area that if it's all jammed up tight and it ain't moving freely, if you spend a lot of time desk bound or sat down, then I would just presume that your hip flexors are tight. If you're not sure, I would presume they are tight, okay? Because what happens when you're in a sat down position is those hip flexors are shortened, but they're not under tension because that chair's supporting your weight now, so they don't need to fire up. So they relax in a shortened state. So then when you stand up, it's harder for them to lengthen out. And that's where if they can't lengthen out, just like we demoed before we'd done this, when you were grabbing a hold of them, trying to lock the hips out, that's what happens when they're tight, okay? You'll struggle to, when you push your butt through, if these are jammed up tight, you'll always have this horrible angle that you can see, that horrible angle in your lower back, which is no good. And posturally, if you're walking around, that's going to start playing havoc on your lower back. See, the best way to describe it, because I have suffered from this, tight hip flexors. The best way to describe it, see if you're standing for long periods of time, or when you're running, you start to feel like almost all the weight is pushing down on your lower back, as in the spine just feels like everything's pumping down onto it, and it starts to burn. Hip flexors, okay? Hip flexors, get into them. It's the best way to describe it. Right at the base of your tailbone, if you feel all the weight of your upper body is just pushing down into that single point and it's burning and you're standing up and it's burning, squeeze your butt cheeks, okay? See when you squeeze your butt cheeks, see if you feel your pelvis tilt quite a lot. Then you know these things need to be strengthened. These things need to be mobilized as well. So remember, mobility and flexibility and strengthening all works hand in hand. Right, okay, I'm done. We are done, you are done. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It'll make you a better runner, it'll make you a better person. Work on these areas, okay? Now, that's an overview, a brief overview, albeit probably a 2-hour session. We can't possibly spend quality time on every single muscle group. Ones that we may have missed out would be the likes of the groin, okay? But that is part of our daily. We do the groin stretch pretty much once a week at least. That's fundamental. If we missed out the groin, I say if we missed because the memory card ran out and I can't remember where it ran out. So groin stretch, I'm not doing it now, but I'm going to show you quickly. The one we want to be doing, it's that one. We've got the knees as wide as we can. I'm getting onto the elbows and I'm pushing back. I'm pushing my tailbone back so that this doesn't happen. I don't want to give into it. I want to keep the form nice and light, nice and strong, good posture, and push back. That's the groin stretch we want to be working on. Okay, now you can foam roll the groin as well. We just lie down, we get stuck into here, and we go for it. It's a bit of a weird position, but you can do it, okay? Don't overthink it. If you've got pain and a muscle feels tight, foam roll it. If you can't quite get into it properly with this, get into it with the ball. Combine that with some stretches and you'll find that you probably put a bit of goodness back into that area. Don't overthink this stuff, okay? You can apply it. The same techniques apply to every muscle group. It's just you might have to move things a little bit differently. You might have to put your body in a slightly different position. Thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and boom, I'll see you next time.